So we will talk this morning, about electric Chanukah lights. Can you use, now they're very popular, I went online, you can find probably 50 different models of electric Chanukah lights. Can you use those to light your Chanukah candles?
Actually, we did that in the hospital last year for his father.
Okay, there you go. So, let's
you want the lamps to light, really.
Hotels also can be.
Yeah, a lot of hotels you can light.
Yeah, so let's just talk about. Let's start with the first section. We'll just talk about what's the ideal way to fulfill the mitzvah to light Chanukah candles. I think this is pretty, I would say, mikubal, well known. The Shulchan Aruch just tells us when it comes to lighting Chanukah candles. In source number 1, Kol hashmanim be'aptilos ksherim l'ner Chanukah. As a matter of fact, all oils and all types of wicks are permitted to be used to light Chanukah candles. What's this in contrast to? Shabbos candles. This is coming in contrast to Shabbos candles. What's the difference? The concern with Shabbos candles is that we don't want you to use all types of oil and all types of wicks, because if it's a wick or an oil that doesn't catch so well, doesn't light very well, we're concerned that you're going to start tilting it to make sure it lights better. On Shabbos, that's a prohibition. So on Shabbos, we're concerned. We want to make sure that you only use lights that we know you're going to light well, so there's no concern you're going to go ahead and play around with the fire on Shabbos. On Chanukah, where it's prohibited to get any hana from the lights, and even if there's no prohibition to play around with it to light better, so therefore there's no concern. So it says you can light all types of wicks, all types of oil. Even though the oil and the wick, aren't a great match. Again, even if it's not a great light, we're not concerned. The Ramah tells us, Umihu shemen zayis mitzvah min hamovchar. However, what is the best way to perform the mitzvah? The best way to perform the mitzvah is using olive oil. Why is that? We'll see 2 reasons. Everyone know why is it better to use olive oil?
Because it represents the mitzvah.
Right, the miracle took place with olive oil. That's the
flame is clear.
Right, and the claim is that the flame is clearer using olive oil than other olive oils. That's what we're going to continue. V'im ein shemen zayis matzui. Let's say you don't have access to olive oil. Mitzvah b'shmanim she'oran zach v'naki. It's better to use a type of candle, type of oil, which will produce a nice and a clear type of light. And then the Ramah concludes here. This is again Ramah writing in the 16th century in Poland. V'nohagim b'mdinos elu, I guess in Poland, lahadlik b'ner shel sha'ava. The custom was in their times to light wax, was not to use olive oil. Why? Ki oran salul k'mo shemen. Because it was a very the wax candles produced a very clear light. It might have been difficult to gain access to olive oil where he was living. So because the wax candles produced a great light, that's what they used. Mishnah Berurah in source number 2 here just says, nevertheless, even though the Ramah talks about the minhag to use wax candles, it says mikol makom mitzvah b'shel shemen tfei minei rosh hashava. So again, because there's 2 factors. When it comes to the factor of producing a clear light, so wax produces a clear light, and so does olive oil. So maybe you'll say, fine, so you can use either one. So the Mishnah Berurah is saying, no, it's still better to use olive oil. Why? There's that added benefit that the miracle that took place in the Beit Midrash took place with olive oil. So to mark that as well, it's better, even though they produce, let's say, an equal light, it's better to use olive oil than the wax candles. Source number 3 here, the Shar HaTzion. The Shar HaTzion is the Mishnah Berurah. It's the footnotes that he writes on his own Mishnah Berurah. So here I just used it to quote an opinion, but in the opinion of the Maharal of Prague. So here it seems like everybody agrees, okay, you can use wax candles. The Maharal of Prague has I would say the most extreme opinion. He says, "B'hinei das Maharal mi Prague b'sifro ner mitzvah shelo haliklal b'ner sha'ava." He says actually it's forbidden to use a wax candle, v'chelev, and I guess one of fat. Eladavka b'shemen mifnei shanes nase b'shemen. So that's the Maharal mi Prague's. His Maharal mi Prague's opinion is that no, it's not better to use olive oil. You have to use olive oil. It's not allowed. Seemingly, it's not allowed to use wax candles. I saw somebody write that. I don't exactly know where he tried to produce a ban on using wax candles in his community. I think he succeeded in the shul, but did not succeed for the candles that they lit in the individual homes.
What was the reason for that?
I think because he believed because the miracle took place with oil, I think he thinks that's like really the only thing you should use. I don't know how far he would go. Let's say you don't have olive oil. So you're not actually performing the mitzvah. I mean, I don't know if he maybe was only saying this because they had the option and people weren't going for the olive oil. I don't know if he'd go to the extreme to say, well, if you don't have olive oil, then you don't fulfill the mitzvah. I don't know.
Or does he really say olive oil or just oil?
It's true. He says oil here. I thought it was implying olive oil, but that might not be true. It might be just be all oil. That's the truth. I don't know. I have to look in. I have to maybe try to find the actual source. But you're true. Here it says shemen. It doesn't say olive oil. So maybe he just wants shemen. Even shemen is better than wax candles. But nevertheless, the Shara Hatzion concludes here about ein noagin kavasi. The minhag is certainly not like that. And I guess, again, maybe even if you would agree that olive oil is the best, after you don't have olive oil, wax candles, all other oils seemingly would all be on the same level. Source number 4 I just brought from the Aruch HaShulchan. He just highlights these two ideas. We don't have to read it inside. The two ideas that we mentioned, the two advantages of using olive oil, again, that's what the miracle took place, so that commemorates the miracle, and also it produces a very clear type of light. So, to sum up section number 1, what's the ideal way to fulfill the mitzvah? The ideal way to fulfill the mitzvah, I think almost everyone would agree, is to use olive oil. Okay, so now let's go to part number 2. So the ideal way is to use olive oil. So if you had a choice between using olive oil and, let's say, an electric chanuka, what should you use? You should certainly use olive oil. I don't think that's much of a question. Question is now, let's say you don't have options. Your options are more limited. Is it permitted to use electric light? So a lot of the cases that come up, you mentioned the hospital, hotels, maybe even if you have kids who are lighting, you don't want them to deal with fire.
We were once on an airplane, and we were told to use
Battery operated.
battery operated.
Okay, so source number 9.
flashlight.
Source number 9. I have the airplane. The reason why the air, and you could say the train also. The reason why the airplane and the train are trickier, it's because there the whole question is that considered your house even where you should light in? And then the question, all these questions come up in terms of the army. Let's say you're in the army in Israel and you're out in the shetach, you're out in the fields for a week during Chanukah. So do you light in the fields? Is that your house? Is that considered a house? I'm not really going to deal with that question. But
Do you deal with the fact that part of this is display it?
so that will come up. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that will come up. Yes. So is it permitted to use electric lights? And again, let's think about the two factors. The two factors we mentioned. Okay, olive oil is better because it represents a miracle. But in terms of producing a nice clear light, I think we can all agree that's what we all use to light our houses nowadays. So we all certainly think that electricity produces a nice clear light. So maybe that should be fine. Why should it be any different than using, let's say, wax candles? So in fact, source number 1 here. So I quoted here from Truth is.
Source number 1 or source number 5?
Sorry, I meant source number 5. Thank you. This is a quote from the Shut Mayim Chaim, who is Rav, either it's Mashash or Masas. He was the chief rabbi of, I think, Haifa in the 50s, 60s, 70s, in that time period in Israel. So this is actually a quote from Rav Ovadia Yosef. If you can never find your actual source, or Rav Ovadia Yosef generally quotes everybody, so you just have to rip it off from what he did. So I'm just taking off, I don't know how exact of a quote this is, but I'm taking from Rav Ovadia Yosef here in the Shut Mayim Chaim. So he's talking about, is it permitted to use electric lights for Chanukah candles? So he writes, so Gam Halom Ra'isi Lamari Mashash. So this is Rav Ovadia writing, that he says he saw written in the name of Rav Mashash, Shut Mayim Chaim, Shehevi Divrei Hagaon Taros HaShulchan. I don't know who that is. The Taros HaShulchan is another, I would say, rabbi in the 20th century. Shenistapek im yatsa yidei chova ner Chanukah b'ner chashmal. He wasn't sure. The Taros HaShulchan was not sure if you fulfill the mitzvah of lighting Chanukah candles using electric lights on Chanukah. Vehiniach b'tzarech iyun. So the Taros HaShulchan wasn't sure. He left it unresolved. Veheir hazeh, but the Shut Mayim Chaim, Rav Mashash, responded and said, "Shelo yada madua hatzarech iyun." Why did he leave it unresolved? Why was he not sure? It seems clear that you can use electric lights. Why? Maybe you'll tell me, well, the miracle happened with oil, better to use oil. The Rambam already told us that the minhag in Poland was to use wax candles because that produced a very clear light. So don't tell me that you need to use specifically oil. Yeah?
When you say the word unresolved, isn't that a de facto no?
Isn't that what?
Well,
A de facto no.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
meaning if you
If
ask
I
them,
come to you and say, can I do this? And you say, oh, I don't know, then it's a de facto no.
well, it's not no because maybe if this rabbi hears somebody else, it's almost he doesn't have an opinion, and then maybe he'll go look to see what other rabbis are going to say on it.
His opinion was unresolved. His final.
Yes, meaning the person who asked him, did they end up using electric candles? Probably not.
Okay.
But there's a difference between leaving it, I'd say, unresolved and saying no. Because if you say no, then you have a clear opinion. You're going through the sources, and you even if somebody says yes, they're going to argue with it.
It's a de facto no by saying.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
But so he says, well, if you're going to tell me better use oil, well, the minhag in Poland is already to use wax candles. And he says, there's nothing clearer than electric candles. Why not? And he says, and then the other issue we're going to see, v'gam chashiv shapir hadlaka gemura. One of the arguments against using electric lights was who said turning on electricity is considered an act of lighting, right? The bracha we make is lahadlik ner shel Chanukah. You have to light the Chanukah candle. So who said turning on the electric light is considered lighting? He says, no, that is lighting. Gam chashiv shapir hadlaka gemura. Why? Shehamadlik chashmal beShabbos chayav. We know if somebody turns on electricity on Shabbos, they violate the prohibition of turning on a fire. So if they violate the prohibition, it's considered turning on a fire on Shabbos. So we say for Chanukah too, it's considered lighting a candle. Lachen nirli lahatir. So the Shut Mayim Chaim says it is permitted. He is in the very decisive minority. Almost everybody is going to argue. He does not gain much support. So now, if you look, hence the yes is one source, and the no has a lot more sources. Just discuss, so if the majority of poskim do not want you to use electric lights, again, and with the Shut Mayim Chaim, he's coming on the level. He's saying probably better to use olive oil. After olive oil, wax and electricity, that's all going to be on the same level.
What about Havdalah?
So I'm not going to deal with Havdalah and Shabbos candles. If we want, we can deal with that another time. But you can talk about, well, there certainly is what to talk about whether they will be different. Shabbos candles and probably Havdalah candles will both be different than Chanukah candles.
I'm not talking about Chanukah, I'm talking about the lights.
Yeah, I know. No, I understand. Using electric lights for Chanukah, for Havdalah, and using electric lights for Shabbos candles will be different than using electric lights for Chanukah candles.
Okay. All right.
So the majority of poskim say no. So what is their reason? So let's just go through a whole slew of reasons why they think using the electric light does not fulfill the mitzvah. A whole slew of reasons appear in source number 6. We'll read through some of them. This is taken from Rav Shlomo Zalman Auerbach's first great work that he wrote was a 200-page book on use of electricity in halacha. He wrote it when he was 25 years old, and he got haskamas from. That's really what started making him popular. He got haskamas from some of the greatest rabbis from Rav Chaim Ozer Grzhinsky in Europe, and he got from Rav Kook. He got a lot of high-powered haskamas to his work. So in Me'orei Eish, I think specifically, I certainly have not read through even more than a little bit of it, but I think the idea of the book is talking specifically about the status of an incandescent light bulb in halacha. So it's not specifically dealing with Shabbos. I don't know how much even deals with Shabbos. So part of it, one section he has...
Incandescent to distinguish from fluorescent?
Yes. And I'll make that point clear now. What's the difference in incandescent? Incandescent, almost everybody agrees that lighting an incandescent light bulb, for example, on Shabbos, is going to violate a biblical prohibition. When it comes to fluorescent, you already have a discussion, whether it may probably only rabbinic.
What about LED?
And LED, I think, is even less. Would say less of a prohibition.
Why the technical difference?
There's no filament.
Right, but you are making the connection in the switch.
The connection to switch, one of the opinions, so the Chazon Ish says the whole problem of electricity is creating the circuit.
Right. For
But,
the circuit.
and therefore he thinks that the prohibition is actually one of bonnet, of building. Most poskim argue and think the problem is not in that. The problem is in the actual light, in the fire that is going on.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
They see it-
yes, if you take the Chazon Ish, I think there would not be differences between all these different lights, I think.
Okay.
But we often, certainly we take that into account, but I think many other poskim say that's not the issue when it comes to
Well, because
electricity.
a friend of mine who's an engineer says, well, what's the difference between that and the tap? Because the tap is effectively the same as, yes, water and the tap is the same sort of thing. You're opening a connection and closing it.
Okay, so
Yeah,
again,
that-
so you have to look at that. So that
makes
might not be a... Okay, so in here...
I'm sorry to go over
Yeah.
it, but the filament
sorry.
is like a fire, is that what?
Yeah,
So that's the closest to a flame.
yeah.
So fluorescent light bulb is less acceptable.
Yeah. So, for example, when we went back to
Less difficult, more acceptable.
well, what are we talking about? Chanukah, or yeah, Chanukah will be less acceptable. Shabbos will be better.
Oh, no, I was talking about...
Chanukah will be less. It will be less
It's not a
acceptable.
filament.
For example, when we go back to source number 5, I should have made that more clear. When the Shumaim Chaim says that lighting electricity is considered a hadlaka, lighting it because you violate Shabbos, I think he's specifically talking about an incandescent light bulb.
So this is a rabbinical view of a filament as opposed to an engineer's view of a filament.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
I don't know the engineer's view. I can't tell you all the engineers' views of the.
Because I'm not sure that an engineer's view of a filament is that it's a fire.
No, like I said, my difference, it says,
Yeah, no, it's a halachic view
I
of the.
thought it was a connection, the
But we're going to.
Yeah.
So in here, Rav Shlomo Zalman has a whole section on using lights, electric lights, incandescent light bulb, for Chanukah candles, and he gives about 5 reasons why he thinks it's not good. A lot of them are I would say, are somewhat similar. He says, first of all, let's start reading in source number 6. He says, Omnam niret da'af ishemen below psila kasher. It could be, even if you want to tell me, this is again coming in the middle of a discussion, even if you want to tell me that if you somehow are able to light oil without even having a wick, so say you have a cup of oil, you're able to light the oil itself without a wick, even if you tell me that's kasher, mikol makom psila below shemen efshar delo. If you have a wick, somehow you're able to light a wick, or let's say maybe even a piece of wood, without any sort of oil, it might not be permitted. Why? Mishum de'ikar hanes halo haya b'shemen. Again, because what was the miracle? The miracle took place with shemen. Below b'psila, the miracle was with the oil. The miracle was not with the wick. So he says, first of all, it could be that you specifically need oil. And what he'll conclude, I think what he'll say is it's not only oil, but you need something which is similar to oil. Why is wax more similar to oil than electricity? Because in wax as well, when you light the wax, it's consuming it, and it's going down, and it will eventually disappear. When you light the oil is going to drain down, and it's going to disappear. When you light the light, when you turn on your light, it's not really disappearing. Yeah, you're right, the light bulb may go out in however long, but it's not really consuming anything, and therefore it's not similar.
View of electricity, because it's not infinite. There is somebody producing it somewhere, and as you consume it.
So that will be another issue in terms of somebody else producing it and not yourself. But
I'm just saying it's a rabbi's view of electricity that it's infinite, but it isn't infinite. It's also
correct. But I think I think we're going to take it from what you're looking at right now. Is the light bulb itself draining away?
Oh, the light bulb, not the electricity.
I think so. So that's issue 1. So you need to use oil. And then he says in issue number 2 in the second paragraph, "Ahachanami be'elektria," that's electric light. Halo kol haor hu rak machmas hachut hameluban. All of the oils. We should pass this to that. Do you have? Oh, you have. Okay. So all of the light. Where's it coming from? It's coming from your. I guess the chut hameluban is probably the filament. Shahazerem haover derech bo. You have the current running through it. Hu mechamemoso ad kedei libun. That's what's heating it up. Once it heats up, that's what produces the light, right? That's why you have those easy bake ovens are just light bulbs, because they produce a lot of light and they produce a lot of heat. It's the current, everything that's going through that heats it up and makes it light. So certainly he says that because that's the way the light is produced with the current going through and heating up the filament, which then produces the light. So that would also be problematic for Chanukah lantern. Why? Because now he brings a parable. Let's say somebody takes a piece of iron and heats it up until it's glowing. then you put that iron down and say, oh, this is my Chanukah candles. Is that going to be, do you think you'll actually fulfill your mitzvah by heating up, that piece of metal? It says, Vade de sapek adolhu kevan de lo kari kal ner. You can't even consider that a candle. You're just heating up a piece of metal. So how can you consider that a candle to be lighting Chanukah candles to fulfill your mitzvah? So that's argument number 2 he makes. So too he's saying when it comes to the filament, all you're doing is you're really heating up a piece of metal, which is then producing the light. Can you consider that a candle, which then you fulfill your mitzvah through lighting Chanukah candles by heating up that piece of metal? So that's argument number 2. Argument number 3. So here is what I actually mentioned a bit before. Ve'od nira, in the next paragraph, you need something which is consumed, which is going to be consumed. Similar to the oil. Again, the miracle was it wasn't consumed, but in general, oil is consumed. So we need something which does consume. Doesn't really go away. So all these arguments he's going to make here again are how similar does our lights on Chanukah have to be to the lights in the Beit Midrash? We're trying to say they have to be, it doesn't have to be exactly the same, but they have to be similar enough. So in what realms they have to be similar? It has to be something similar to oil which is going to be consumed. And now he says the Gam Yishumar to be an or kazesh yesh bo shel hebes. You need to have a flame. Mashe enkin kan de'en bo shel hebes klal. And here there is no flame. And then he goes on to continue and he says that, and when it comes to and here you have a machlokes between the Rabbi and the Rambam in terms of heating up metal on Shabbos. Is that considered a fire or not? I think the Rambam says it is. Sorry, the Rabbi says it's not an eish at all, and even the Rambam says it might only be a tolada of lighting a fire. It's not actually considered the real malacha of lighting a fire, and therefore, because in all these different areas, it's different than the Chanukah candles. A, you're not lighting something. B, nothing's really being consumed, and C, you don't have a flame. Therefore, you can't use the electric lights. And then he continues in the last paragraph, Biram, and he says also in terms of a hadlaka, Biram benidon didanira diesh ladun kan lipsol mitam acher. I have another reason to say it's forbidden. Kevan deikar hatam dehadlaka ose mitzvahu mishum debainan dumia deminora shebemikdash. Again, the whole idea of when you fulfill the mitzvah of lighting Chanukah candles, the mitzvah is fulfilled behadlaka. At the moment where you light the candles, then you fulfill the mitzvah. So it needs to be similar to the way they lit the candles in the menorah in the Beit Midrash. B'sham haisa ikar mitzvah lasos shal hebes. It's similar to what I said before, that it has to be similar to the flame which was in the Beit Midrash. Kedekasav rachmana beha aloschas haniros. There it's you almost put up to raise up the flame. V'lo behadlakaschas aniros. Not when you light the flame. Behind him shahalahav ole. Again, the flame, I guess, goes up. We can't really say that by electricity, and therefore another reason to say it's no good. And what I didn't put on the source sheet, and this gets back to I don't know if exactly what Michael was saying, but it's related to what Michael was saying. One of the halachos, again, related to what we just said, one of the halachos of lighting Chanukah candles is hadlaka osa mitzvah. What that means is at the moment we light the Chanukah candles, that's when you fulfill the mitzvah. There are several repercussions of that, meaning that if it goes out, you don't really have to relight it, because you fulfill the mitzvah at the moment when you lit it. So you fulfilled your mitzvah already. If it goes out 2 minutes later, you don't have to relight it. As Rabbi Kropkin said this morning after davening, it's nice to relight it. You should relight it. You wouldn't make a bracha on it, but you already fulfilled your mitzvah. So something else related to that same halacha is at the moment where you light it, it has to have the ability, theoretically, to be lit for the time period which would allow you to fulfill the mitzvah. So we assume that the candles have to be lit for 30 minutes, let's say after nightfall. So at the moment where you light the candles, if there's only 5 minutes of oil in the candle, you're not going to fulfill your mitzvah, because it doesn't have the potential to reach 30 minutes. That's why on Shabbos you have to be, when we light before Shabbos and it's much longer, you have to make sure to put enough oil that can last for, say, an hour and a half. Because at the moment you light it, doesn't have the potential, you don't fulfill the mitzvah. So when it comes to what is powering the electric lights they're using for Chanukah candles? So Rav Shlomo Zalman here makes a distinction between DC and AC, between direct current and alternating current, because when you have direct current, I guess you could say it's coming in. It's at all times it's really coming in, and therefore when you turn on the lights, you can say the potential is there for it to remain lit for 30 minutes. When it comes to alternating current, So it goes in a limited fashion, it goes back and forth. So when it comes one way, so the potential isn't going to be so long because it's going to alternate back the other way. So when you light the candle, there's not necessarily the potential at the moment where you light it for the current inside to keep it lit for 30 minutes because it's going to end up changing directions in the way it flows. He was also talking about, I think maybe also electromagnetism in terms of using a magnet and the current is
how about a battery? Let's say
okay.
they have a battery operated.
Okay, good. So
in battery has limited life, right?
no, so exactly. So therefore, because of this claim, there are many poskim who say, well, see, in the situations where you're going to use electric candles, it is better to use a battery operated chanuka candle than the current. The other problem with the current, is what Michael was saying, is that, well, you're not really the one producing it. It's being produced over there, so maybe it's not considered as if you're the one who's actually lighting it. And then they talk about the potential also for blackouts. Someone's going to say, they're so rare that you don't really have to be concerned for that. But either way, I saw therefore many people said better to use a battery because then you get rid of all the issues that potentially come by using the power plant, whatever it is, to turn it on. And therefore, if you use the battery, it's all self-contained, it's all inside. The potential's there theoretically for it to be lit for 30 minutes, and therefore
it's also being consumed because the battery kept more or less forever.
Yeah. I think through this, I don't know how much that matters because the same way it's clear that the energy and the power plant's being consumed. Also, I think when we're looking at the consumption, it might be what we're looking at the actual fire itself, not really what's going on, say, behind the scenes.
I don't understand this concept of blackout because there's no obligation to check that you have enough oil when you. Or I suppose is it implied that you have to check you have enough oil for 30 minutes?
Yeah, you have to know. For example,
you have to check a battery that it'll last 30 minutes.
I guess theoretically you should check it. If you can know, again, if you're putting in a new battery, it's going to...
No, but you may have to be careful to make sure you get all new batteries every day.
I don't know if you need new a day. Let's say you put in a new battery and you're told, it gives you X amount of hours. I don't know if you really have to...
2,000-hour battery? Tell me where.
You have to be machmir with Duracell.
So I don't know how far you'll have to go to be looking into it, but it's part of the same idea of the blackouts is similar to you can't light Hanukkah candles in let's say somewhere where it's windy, where it's going to go out. It doesn't have the potential to be lit. So therefore I think that, well, maybe it's going to go out, so maybe that's because you're lighting in a place so it doesn't have the potential. Again, unclear. Again, others say, well, blackouts happen, however, so not very often, so you don't really have to be concerned. So that was Rosh Shlomo Zalman Auerbach's main claims against it. The Shubes Yitzchak, who is Rav Yitzchak Shmelkis, he also wrote a lot on electricity, actually. So he talks about, he raises an additional point here. He says, source number 7. Let's go to the other light. So here, Ach li'inyan hadlakas ner Chanukah, eno yotzei lo bi'elektritit. I don't exactly know how to pronounce that. Licht, obviously talking about electric lights. V'lo begas licht. And also don't use gas lights. Chada, why? Shemen zayis mitzvah min ha'muchar. We already established how olive oil is better. Ve'od, kevan shenasim lahadlik b'chol yemos hashana lo have persumi nisa. You use lights, electricity, and gas lights to light your homes every single day. To start using those as Chanukah candles, you're not publicizing the miracle. How do you know that you're using these as Chanukah candles? Maybe you're just using these to light your house, and therefore it would not be permitted. Now, obviously, I would say, in modern times, when I told you we went online and you can find 100 different models of Chanukah candles with electric lights, so that problem doesn't exist. Nobody's using, something in the shape of a Chanukiah with those little lights on top to light up their house. So the whole problem of Pirsume Nisa would not apply in that case. If you say you're using your lamp, which you use to light your candle, and you want to say, oh, the lamp is going to be like a Hanukkah candle, then you'd have this issue of the Pirsume Nisa.
I don't think that's what he really means. I think he's trying to distinguish so that, we're distinguishing between a Hanukkah and a regular day. I think that's basically...
He's writing in the 19th century. At the end of the 19th century, I think. So...
Okay.
I think the idea of Pirsume Nisa is you want to make it recognizable. You're doing it for Hanukkah.
Yeah.
So when he didn't he couldn't even dream of this idea that you'd have manufacturers making these hanukiyot, which specifically are used for electric lights. He's talking about using a light bulb or whatever as your Chanukah candle. Yes.
But you can say the same thing before electricity came around. Everyone used candles for light, and now how is it pursuing Nisa when you're using a candle for Chanukah?
Well, that's why they wanted to use olive oil. You missed the early part where most of the rabbis said, if you have olive oil.
Yeah,
But the person outside the street doesn't see olive oil; they see a flame.
Okay, first of all, you have to remember how far back are we going. If you're going really far back, or not even so, they used to light outside. There, it's very clear that they're using it for Hanukkah candles. And also, right, in Israel nowadays, people still light outside. In Toronto, not so much. People are not lighting outside, but certainly in Israel. So there, it's very clear that you're lighting for Hanukkah candles. It's true. What he's trying to do is you have to make it recognizable. So maybe even the fact that you're just, again, putting it in a place, or having the 8 lights in a row, whatever it is, to make some sort of form to show that you're publicizing the miracle, you have to do that. But yeah, meaning correct. But I don't know if they actually use olive oil for their everyday lights. Probably not. But again, who says they can tell? So you're right. So maybe I would say the theory behind it is make sure to put it in a way where everyone will know that you're using it for Hanukkah candles. I have here in source number 8. The Shoot Maharshag, Shlomo Greenfield. I don't actually know much about him. So why I bring him down here, he makes the same point. He thinks that you can't actually use Hanukkah candles, you can't use electric lights for Hanukkah candles because when they made the takana, they didn't exist, and therefore certainly you can't use it now. I don't know if wax existed in the times of 2,000 years ago either. So maybe for some reason that was close enough that there's no problem. But he's talking about, so therefore, let's say you don't have any other choices, and your choice is you don't, whatever it is, you can't use anything else. All you have is to use an electric light. Should you light the electric light? Do you accomplish anything by using the electric light? So the Shu Maharshag right here, I'm trying to think where I want to start. I'll just start from the beginning. When it comes to using the Chanukah candles where it's forbidden to use the light, and the whole point is we're using it to commemorate the miracle. So the fire, the miracle took place with a natural fire. So maybe wax would be included in it's a natural fire. B'shemen, lo be'esh hayisodi. But not with the H that we're having in terms of electricity. They commanded when the Chachamim made the mitzvah of light candles was to light this called natural fire. And therefore he says hadas notesh lo ze bilvad. Forget that it's not that the mitzvah was never to light Chanukah electric lights bilvad. No, I'm sorry. Forget the fact that you're not even going to make a bracha. You certainly can't make a bracha on this. You're not going to fulfill the ideal mitzvah by lighting the electric lights. He says you actually accomplish absolutely nothing by lighting these electric lights. You don't have what to fulfill the mitzvah. You don't fulfill the mitzvah. I don't care that you think that electricity is similar enough. No, the mitzvah was never to use electricity. Okay, if you're in honest, if you're in an unfortunate situation where you can't fulfill the mitzvah, so you can't fulfill the mitzvah. But don't think you're accomplishing something by using electric lights. Then he says, "V'chein b'Chanukah, im yirtzeh lahadlik lezecher ba'alma mayazikla." Okay, if you want to feel good about yourself, you want to publicize the miracle. You're on the airplane and you want to show people that you're celebrating Chanukah. So you want to show zecher ba'alma. So fine, it doesn't do any damage by you lighting this candle. Let's say somehow later that night, you're able to get you arrive and you're able to gain hold of oil and wicks, and you can light Hanukkah candles. Not only should you light, but you should light with the bracha. Why should you light with the bracha? What does it mean you should light with the bracha? You've accomplished absolutely nothing before. And therefore, saying you've done nothing, and therefore, you would light a bracha if you have it, if you, let's say, gain access to the oil and wicks later on.
So you've got the whole issue with sorry.
Yeah, until what time?
Yeah.
So that's okay. So however late you're going to go, that's
Somebody's up in the house.
Whatever. Let's say somebody's up in the house. You wake somebody up in the house.
It has to be at night, not the next day.
No, the day you can't fulfill mitzvah. No.
So it's with Alos HaShachar in the next shot.
Okay, yeah. So here they're saying, correct, because Alos HaShachar is the beginning of the next day. So before that, if whatever circumstances you need in order to light, you shall do so. So in source number 9, The question here's from Shut Aseh L'Charav. Aseh L'Charav was Rav Chaim David Halevi. So he wrote the question about, if you look in the beginning, Shelat Madin Hanosea Ba'aviron Legabe Hadlakas Ner Chanukah. Can you light Chanukah candles on an airplane? Now he is really dealing with the question: is the airplane considered your house? Can you consider that a dwelling place which would then require you to light or allow you to light Chanukah candles? As a side point, he's going to talk about the electricity, but he's talking really about, can you consider the airplane your space where you can light?
Don't they use the word BAYT if you're with your wife? Like, your wife is your BAYT.
I haven't looked up at that. People might say that. I don't know.
Or your husband.
That could be true, but I'm not sure if that would be the only way to define it. So I don't know. He says v'im lo. So here, his assumption. It's crazy to even think about it in the first place. He said, but he's saying here in the middle, v'im lo tinasin lecha rishus lahadlik ner mamish b'matos. So if they don't give you permission to light, actual candles on the plane. So right nowadays,
it's pre 9/11.
Yes, this is pretty much. This is, I don't even know what. This is probably in the 60s, 70s. So this is, nobody would even have that thought to light.
To smoke, then.
Right. So when they would smoke, so maybe then it'd be permitted. You think, okay, to light a candle. Obviously, that's forbidden nowadays. So he says, "Tuchal ishtamish b'ner chashmali hamuzan bebataria kil Chanukah." Use an electric light through a battery. Ela she'asur levarech alav. He says, but it is forbidden to make a bracha on it. And then he says, because then in the brackets it says, afi mi'ikar din tia rashai levarech be'atem lechilukim. Because again, the whole question here was, is the plane considered your house? So first of all, you have to get over that hump. So is it considered a house that would allow you to make a bracha? Even if you get over the bracha, now they're not letting you light candles and you can only use electricity, certainly don't make a bracha. So light it to publicize a miracle without a bracha. So if you're able to get, before dawn, you're able to get to your house. So here too he's saying, not only should you go back and light, but again with a bracha. Which means that even Rav Chaim David Halevi is assuming you're not accomplishing anything by your previous light. Even lefi ikar hadin efshari lefi achilukim, etc. So here too he seems to be agreeing with the Shu Maharshag that even if you're going to light electricity, if you have opportunity to light later with actual candles and wicks and oil, you should even make a bracha. Rabbi Chaim Howard Jachter and Rabbi Michael Broyd co-wrote several articles on electricity and halacha. So they wrote an article on Chanukah lights as well. So they are not so convinced. They would say it's true that most of the rabbis here, they're not so convinced with sources number 8 and 9. Meaning it's true that the Rosh Hashanah and most poskim assume you shouldn't use electric lights, but they're not so convinced to the extent that you don't fulfill anything. And therefore they think that if you're going to use electric lights, let's say on the airplane, even though you're not going to make a bracha, you still fulfill the mitzvah. And therefore, if you get home later on, should you use oil? Can you light again using oil and wicks? Yeah, you should. But they say you certainly shouldn't make a bracha. They don't think you should make a bracha when you relight it that second time, because you do have opinions that say you fulfill the mitzvah. So to go the extent to say that you're accomplishing absolutely nothing with the electricity, they don't want to go that far, and therefore they say, again, don't make a bracha. And even if you do it a second time with the real wicks and oils, don't make a bracha. But they still think, and they say again, you should make a bracha because you have accomplished something. So the truth is, maybe I should have done source number 10 first. Source number 10 is Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, so he goes through the whole analysis of using electric lights for the Chanukah candles. And then he says, again, he's not so into it. But if you go, I'm just going to skip the beginning part just to go to the fourth last line after the period. There are a few periods. So the fourth last word on the fourth last line. V'lachein nira li she'afi mizdamin she'ein lo shemen o sha'aval neros Chanukah. There's no choice. You don't have oil. You don't have candles. Let's say you're in a hospital. You're not allowed to light them. And your only choice is to use an electric candle. He says you should light without a bracha. So again, we have a principle that whenever you have a safek, you have a doubt what the issue is, so better not to make the bracha. So he's not sure what the status of electricity is, so light with electricity, that's what he says you should do, but don't make a bracha. And here in brackets, again, I think he's just talking about a regular lamp. If you're lighting it, put it in a place where, again, it will be recognizable that you're doing it for the mitzvah of Chanukah. You're not just doing it for, again, you can't use the light, but if you're just going to put it on a table where you always have a light lit, so that's not going to accomplish anything. So again, if you have these special electric menorahs, so I think, again, you'd get rid of that problem, because here, you're trying to, the whole idea of lighting Chanukah candles, you want to publicize the miracle. So when you're lighting these candles, you want to make sure that people understand you're doing it for the mitzvah, and not, I'd say, just for that.
It almost seems like the last few Shalos and Shuvas are dividing or separating the concept of presuming Nisa from the concept of actually lighting. And they're saying even if you can't light, and you're not fulfilling the mitzvah of lighting, there still is an element of presuming Nisa without the lighting.
Correct.
So therefore, do something to show the
Well, the Shumar Shach said don't do anything, because, well, at the end of the truth, he said you don't.
He says,
yeah, if you want. Yeah,
that's
true. Okay.
Right? Just go ahead and do something just to...
Right, I mean, that's really the whole question with respect to, I'll say Chabad, but all these public, Chanukah lighting ceremonies. Can you make a bracha on those ceremonies? I don't know how the divide is. I think certainly there are those who do make them, but I think many poskim say you shouldn't make it. It's not your house, you can't do it. So even though it's publicizing the miracle, and it might be nice to do that, I don't think it's something which you can make a bracha on. So it's true, yeah, what they're saying here is, yeah, you can publicize the miracle, but it doesn't mean you're actually fulfilling your mitzvah. Mm-hmm. The Rav Ovadia is actually, well, he's saying that you do fulfill the mitzvah. He's saying you wouldn't make a bracha, but at least you're fulfilling your mitzvah. Okay.
Last week I asked about the 18th floor.
Oh, so I looked at that for a little bit, but I'll sum up the electricity, and then. So just in terms of summing up, obviously the ideal way to light Chanukah candles is with the olive oil, because it commemorates the miracle, and produces a nice light. Is it permitted? So the overwhelming majority of poskim say you should not use electric lights. Again, if you're stuck in your situation, you're in a hospital, you're in such place where you're not able to use anything else, so yeah, then Rav Ovadia, I think, I saw it quoted in the Nishmas Abraham, which is a book dealing with halacha and medicine mainly, but he deals with these issues. So if somebody's in the hospital and they can't use anything else, so they say, yeah, you should light an electric Chanukah candles, don't make a bracha on it, maybe better to have it with battery operated, and again, assuming that you have one of those, and again, make sure to do it in a way which is going to publicize the miracle. So if you have those actual Chanukah electric Chanukias, then obviously there's no problem. If you don't have that, then try to put it in a way that people will understand you're doing it for the mitzvah and not just lighting actual candles. Okay, have a great morning.